I mean, the police has always been a very interesting type of organization because it's designed to, uphold the law. But for example, there's the blue shield of silence, the
Right.
blue wall of silence, right?
Right.
Where the cops want you to snitch, but they hate when their coworkers snitch.
Right, exactly.
Right? They
Reciprocal.
hate, they fight the gangs, they bust the gangs, but for example, the crash unit was a gang based on the way you described it.
A big gang, yeah.
A big gang at that, the biggest gang. I remember reading a book, it was by Monster Cody.
I remember that book.
Yeah. And he would say how if an enemy gang would roll up on his block, didn't matter how many, how many members were there, how outnumbered they were, they'd shoot it out.
Right.
One cop would show up and they would all scatter.
Right.
Just one cop by himself
Right.
in a car. And they'd be 100 deep. It doesn't matter. They would all scatter. So you almost have these similarities in the way the gangs operate and the way the police operates.
Yeah.
And, the crash unit, Rampart, had a lot of dirty cops that were doing crimes outside of their actual job.
Their actual job, yeah.
Like, what percentage of cops do you think are dirty overall? If you were to just take an eyeball guess at it. Not just LA, just overall.
Overall, I mean, I'm going to say, just to be fair, I'm going to say 30%.
30%.
It's still a lot.
Out of every 10 cops, 3 of them
And
are doing things on the side that is illegal.
And I'm saying not just illegal like dope stuff. I'm just saying how they treat certain individuals, how they violate people's rights. Ignorantly or just out of pride, they still violate your rights out of pride because the guy might say, hey, why you stop me? And really, it's okay to tell him, if you're right, you're right. If you're wrong, you're wrong. But there's nothing wrong with you asking the cop a question. But some cops take it so personal that the pride gets in the way. And that's already breaking the law and being corrupt in the way you handle citizens out there.
Like, for example, I know a lot of great cops.
Right.
I hire cops to do security for me. I have active NYPD, in New York. I got
Right.
off-duty LAPD in LA. I know great cops. In general, I've had good experiences with cops.
Right.
But every so often, I don't. Like, I remember getting pulled over in New York. I had a suspended license, and I'm being very cooperative. They asked me to get out of the car, then they slam me against the car.
Right.
And handcuff me, like, forcibly. And I'm like, I'm not resisting on any level. I'm
Exactly.
being polite at every point.
And that's my point.
And this is what happens. I remember this one time I go into a precinct in Brooklyn, and I had donated my car, but I had forgotten to leave the license plate on it. So I went in there to explain the story to the officer, just wondering what I should do. And he's like, what are you, an idiot? And I'm looking at the guy, and this is this big fat cop, and I'm
Right.
like, okay, you're only talking to me right now because you have a badge.
Yeah, you have the badge.
If we were just two men, if if we
wouldn't.
were at a store and you said that to me, there might be a physical altercation. But since you have a
point.
badge, you could call me an idiot
My
because
point.
I'm not going to do anything.
Exactly.
Which I didn't. I'm saying I had to just sit there and be insulted for no good reason. So I see this. I'm not going to say that I'm a victim. I've been beaten up by the police. That's never happened. But I have been mistreated for no good reason.
And that's the thing of why I actually want to push my agenda too, because I think a lot of the cops, and this is 100%, most of the big percent of it are unhealthy, emotionally, psychologically, they're already unhealthy. They don't know how to handle stuff. They're very ignorant too, and this is from personal experience I've seen, because the cop job is an easy job. The job for me was fun and it was easy. Super fun and easy because you're responding to radio calls, you're helping, you're doing this, you're in the mix of situation where you're like the mediator of a domestic violence. Yeah, you need your tactics, you need your verbal skills to communicate with people, de-escalation. Super simple. Yeah, they're going to get into gunfights sometimes. Yeah, you might get into altercations. But if you could just approach somebody without already escalating the scenario by you, the way you approach it, handle it, people will respect you more. People will. And a lot of cops, they don't know how to do that. And a lot of them, I think they're just scared and they're ignorant in who they're dealing with in the streets, that they overreact. And that's a big thing that I see. They overreact. That's why I say 30%, because they're not out breaking the law, corrupting, selling dope. Just the way they handle radio calls or traffic stops with people. And to me, it's like, dude, you didn't have to handle it like that. Or they don't even know how to fight. Like a big percent of coppers, 85% don't know how to fight. I was an instructor for the police department's tactics and self-defense for 2 years, and I trained 10,000 in-service cops on it's like the MMA for cops that we were involved. I was an instructor for. a lot of them don't know how to fight, and they think they're going to be able to pull out the gun. I've been in a shootout. I know that not always will you be able to pull out your gun. So the frame of mind is, again, it's going back to ignorance, not knowing.